Flexes on the back.
But I mean, he was, but everything else is delicious. So I made it. If you're asking for blessings, I do not want to experiment.
Asking for what?
If you're asking people for blessings, choose not.
Okay.
Anytime.
That's the third bell.
Yes, third bell.
All right. Before we start officially this morning, we have some new people here. Two lovely young people that I met a little while ago. They're over here. But let's start on this side, and if you're a newcomer, please introduce yourself. Wave your arms so Jeff can see you, because I can't see you. Anybody new? Okay.
Yeah, one
Oh,
is
here's
We'll
one.
go in the back corner. Say who you are and something about you.
Hello, my name is Juan. I'm from Spain.
Out in the back.
Let me follow up.
Oh, yeah.
Juan's here. I am. He's a volunteer here. He'll be here for a while. He's an osteopath, and he's available. Yes, and so I'll be noting that on the calendar. If anyone wants information or stuff.
Okay, out in the foyer.
In the foyer.
My name is Nancy. I'm Nelson's sister. Visiting for a few weeks from San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, fantastic. Welcome.
Sure.
Over here.
Hi, my name is Eve. I'm from Montreal, Canada. And I'm here to look for land, buy some land, and also to buy outside.
Great. Fantastic.
Nice combo.
Oh, Isabel, another Canadian.
So I'm Isabelle from Montreal as well. I'm renting a house for 6 months here in Coachal, and I'm planning to come back every year forever.
Yeah,
Forever.
every year forever.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
All right, and now, also before we officially begin, Sharon has several announcements. Good ones.
Good. Quick like a bunny. First, Jeff. Yay, Jeff is returned.
Yay!
Yeah, so I'm sending out the calendar. The end of this month is New Year's Eve, and we've always, for many years, we've done the feet in the sand thing. We meet at the beach. It's a nice way. Jeff will explain it if you'd like. He has a nice way of giving the story behind that. So today, it's going to be high tide New Year's Eve, which is going to complicate things at the beach. So today, it's the same time that it's high tide. So we're going to do a recon down at the beach around sunset to see if there's enough space to do what we do. Unfortunately, Mark and Lisa will not be here, and they usually do the fire and the circle. We might not be able to do it anyhow, so it'll be short and sweet. And then afterwards, Diane has offered the Happy House for, well, not afterwards, before. We'll do a late potluck lunch dinner kind of thing. So
3
we can
p.m. or something?
Sorry?
3
around,
p.m.?
Yeah, around 3-ish. We can meet there and then go to the beach. And we can carpool, and then, although there's plenty of parking there, and Cynthia's Beach, and she's offered it, so that's great.
Okay.
Then the other thing about here, and I'll also mark it on the calendar. Anyone who's not on the calendar who wants to be, ask me and I'll put you on the calendar. But last week we had some little weirdness about parking because they were doing road work. So they've asked, please carpool or
No one was there.
or walk. Or just because it's the season and more people are
first
coming,
time.
which is wonderful. There's more cars out there, and so we want to make sure that the safe passage of cars along Papagayo. So, and then also as the groups get bigger, we are lacking cushions and seating, although we've got plenty there.
Donations.
You might want you might want to bring a cushion and or a beach chair if that's necessary.
Sorry, I was just going to say, maybe to reiterate the carpooling stuff, maybe everyone didn't get the message or the posting. Where are we meeting for carpooling?
Well, okay, so Bon and Bill have started a new Facebook page, and it's just to do with the Dharma group, and right here, and so they'll be posting where y'all can meet for carpooling and anything else that pertains to any kind of quotes or stuff. So
The idea is that the Happy House is one place, which is perfect for people coming out of town or that are close to there. And then the Salon Communal has got plenty of parking. So could just park and ride from there, showing up 9:35, 9:40-ish, probably departing 9:45 to get up the hill. And then afterwards we go back down to the park and ride.
Bill, how do people get on that? Because I noticed there's not
The
a whole
Facebook.
lot of people. No, I know,
Yeah.
but do they just have to go? How do they find
Yeah,
it?
there's lots of ways, but you could go find the group because it's Bali Rika Dharma group. It'd be easy to find on Facebook, or anybody that's in the group could invite you, and then I'll get a notification that says a request to join, and I click approve,
Okay.
kind of thing. So those are probably the two easiest ways.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
and that's it for me.
Okay, now, continuing. Bill has started this really cool Facebook page. I can't see it, but my daughter called me. She had already received an invitation and looked at it, and she read it to me and told me what was in the pictures. And I was really thrilled. I think it's we kind of switched things around during COVID and whatnot, everything kind of out here there. This is going to really bring the group together because so many people come and then they go home and they still want to stay in touch. This is a wonderful thing.
For discussion as well about
For
what we've
discussion,
talked
you
about.
could put in whatever. So that's if you're not on the list, or if you don't know whether you are or not, you can check it out. And if you have Facebook, if you don't have Facebook, you better get it just for this one thing. And now, in addition to that, Bill has come up with a wonderful possibility for the fact that we no longer have the video film. And I'm going to let him, it's him sitting there with that thing that looks like a magic eye over there. And he's going to tell us about it now, and then we'll finally get around to
Yeah. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. So if you're a member of the Facebook group, no matter where you are, you could join the live event. Arthur Glass is on right now, sending comments. He says volume needs to be louder. I can't really control that. He can only control it on that end.
Turn up your hearing aid, Arthur.
So, yeah.
Hear it.
sometimes that's a blessing.
I have an announcement.
And also Facebook Live. It will happen now, but then you can see the recording of this afterwards. So it doesn't have
That's
to be
right.
that you'll be on at the same time.
That's
Tell
right.
people if they're interested in the group that they can just go and find the video.
Yeah.
You can hear it while it's happening, or you can check it out on Facebook.
later.
Also, for those of us who don't do Facebook, if anyone is able to transfer it to WhatsApp, for those of us that don't get Facebook, that would be awesome.
There is a
But
hotel group,
not necessary.
a WhatsApp group.
Now,
Okay.
is the recording also going to be on the?
I don't know. I don't know
Okay,
that.
we'll work that. We'll talk about those
Yeah.
details.
Okay, yeah, details.
It's pretty common to have two, more than one channel of communication,
Okay, guys, one more.
And the ring also transports you to another dimension, right?
Yes. If you can squeeze through this hole, you land in Tibet.
Now, Pam says she has
Actually, I'm
some-
going to defer to Mark for a moment.
Mark, where's Mark?
Right behind you.
Hi, Darwin.
So this Tuesday at 2 Talk is called Colluding with the Wounded Reality,
Whoa.
which is about how when we're all on our path and we're doing what we're doing, how we always keep diving back into our problems, seeking answers, and the answers aren't found there. And so this talk is about looking at it a completely different way, in a way that you already have the tools to do what you have to do without diving back into that pool filled with poo. You can actually go and move forward in your life. So Tuesday at 2, Colluding with the Wounded Reality.
There we are. This is Mark and Lisa. Is Lisa?
Yeah, she's here.
I want to thank you for what you posted, the first poster. That was very, very nice. So,
And I do still have an announcement.
yeah.
It is that, I forget his name now, but there's a monk coming to San Jose next weekend, Friday afternoon to Sunday afternoon, and there are a couple of us carpooling. It's a 2.5-day retreat. There are a couple of us carpooling and a couple of us with a hotel nearby. So
Check with you.
check with me if you're interested in retreating next weekend.
Okay. Does he have a topic for the retreat?
I'm sure, but I forgot that as well.
No, whatever.
I
It's
just show
all
up.
good.
Yeah, right. I just show
It's
up.
all good. All right. Now, I think we kind of have already overcome the usual welcome to this week's Dharma talk. But now, before we do our few minutes of silence, I have recruited Pam, our bouncing yoga teacher, and she's going to lead us in some body meditation to start with. So we'll just skip the welcome. You're all welcome. Everybody's welcome. And we're all so happy. You really are welcome. We're glad to have you home. Okay, so, all right. Demas and
We'll go.
here we go. The talk is beginning.
So, you're already comfortably seated, I see. If you're not, wiggle a little bit, find your seat, find the hip points, wherever you're sitting, find the hip points, and just bring your awareness to where they touch the ground. And where the ground comes up to meet your seat as well. Because it's really just body awareness. It's just bringing your focus from out there to right in front of you and what's here. So starting at the very base, the ground. Notice the parts of the body touching the ground. So the seat, but also maybe the backs of the thighs, the backs of the legs. Notice if your feet are touching the ground and where they're touching the ground. Bring your attention to the pelvic floor and try to relax that a little bit closer to the ground. And then just building up the spine. Think of the spine as just stacked blocks, all the way from the tailbone, through the low back, and maybe just go up one step at a time. Even if you don't know what the spine looks like, visualize little building blocks stacked on top of one another, resting gently on the one beneath it, growing taller towards the one above it. Through the low back, through the mid back, through the neck, growing up through the crown of the head towards the sky. Soften the chin towards the chest just a hair. so that the neck is relaxed, the throat is relaxed. Shoulder blades down along either side of the spine on the back of the body, so lowering the shoulders away from the ears. And start to notice the breath. In through the nose, down the back of the throat, filling the chest, expand the rib cage, expand the belly all the way into the pelvic floor. And then squeezing up from the bottom in reverse all the way back out through the nose. Take 3 nice, long, big, mindful breaths. As you're breathing, use the breath to just introduce space into the body, like I had said, between the vertebrae, between the rib cage, between the ears, under the shoulder blades. And on your next exhale, lower the chin to the chest. Sigh out. Bring your hands to your heart. Inhale. Hands up overhead. And this time, make kind of like goalposts with your hands and open the chest up towards the sky. Exhale again. So open the chest up towards the sky. Goalpost hands. Inhale back through center. Hands down to the heart. Bow the head. One more time. Inhale up through center. Reach high. Drop the elbows. Lower the shoulder blades. Open the chest up to the sky. Sigh all the way out. Inhale up. I said one more time, but I really meant 2. Bow the head. Inhale up one more time. Exhale, open the chest towards the sky. So really open the heart. Opening your heart for what Jeff's about to say today. Inhale up. And this time, drop the right arm, side bend. Press into the ground. Reach long through the fingertips. Inhale up. Drop the left arm over to the left side. Whatever side you're on. Hey, is right is left. Inhale up. This time, twist. Reach for that opposite knee. Just relax the arm back behind you. It doesn't have to go anywhere specific. But continuing that chest opening. So think about the chest reaching up and back. Inhale through center. Back to the other side. Big sigh out. Lower the shoulders. Open the chest. Inhale back through center. Hands down to your heart. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dan.
Well, we're running a little late, so let's just do a really short 1 or 2 minute at a
2 minutes?
quiet. Everybody just quiet. Sharon's going to bring us in for a couple of minutes. Have a beautiful day. speak again. This is Jeff speaking to us again after such a long time. Thank you. Very well.
I just spent 5 weeks in Minnesota with no snow, so that was good. But the last week was 0 degrees temperature with winds. So I'd helped my mother put a fern thing together out on their balcony at their new residence, and it kept blowing over and things, which is pretty typical of what will happen for the next 3 or 4 months there. Hence why I'm here. But it was a good time, and I got back on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And so I dug out, I have a folder of all the talks, I don't know, 6 years maybe I've been sharing many talks with
We
you.
started 9 years ago this month.
So maybe 7
And you
years.
joined us 2 or 3 years later.
Yeah. And so instead of, I usually do quite a bit of preparing for in between the 2 weeks. And this time I didn't have that amount of time and re-entry and all that stuff. So I let emerge things from my folder that seemed to draw my attention and seemed to be apropos for what I experienced in Minnesota. And I'm not going to share much about Minnesota, but there was a lot of how the Dharma works in my psyche, in my spirit, in my interactions there. And as wonderful as the United States is, it's a really busy place. It's a really tense place. And the interactions are less cordial than I ever remember them. And so to practice the Dharma despite the circumstances is really good. So, and I think that it was majorly successful. I come from a lot of busyness and a lot of work and a lot of those kind of things. And the Dharma talks about another way of operating, how you find happiness, how you find peace, how you find yourself, how you find the world, how you find your enemies, how you find your friends, how you find people that you don't know, all of those things. So it all applies. It's really wonderful because no matter what the winds are, your plant doesn't have to blow over. I didn't know I'd use that illustration, but it makes sense. Yeah, whoa! That was impromptu. And so the things that emerged are things that are really basic Dharma topics, besides the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path.
That's what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. This is everyday drama, everyday Dharma, not everyday drama. That's what we're trying to get away from. Yeah, and so just one side humorous note. I realized how much I lose things when I'm not in my own surroundings. And so if you want to hear a good story, come to lunch about how I lost about 8 things in a row. The main thing that I lost the first night on Halloween was this, which this is my man bag, which has my passport, debit card, credit cards, anything that I need, and miraculously it was returned to me unused 3 days later. So that was my big loss, but I have to really laugh. Since I've come home, I haven't really lost anything. And so obviously I'm just visiting there and things are a bit awry. So if you want to hear a funny story, I'll tell that one at lunch if you want to come today. The first of 3 short topics is a re-looking at what success is. I did this talk maybe about 4 years ago, and I come from really successful people, if you want to operate in the Western way of looking at success. Everybody has taken the next steps and are comfortable and are busy and have family relationships and friends and nice. I drive around in their cars and I'm like, isn't this nice? And they're sweet, smooth roads, and I'm like, isn't this nice? But the Buddhist talk and a more Eastern way of looking at this is success has a beautiful underbelly. That model of success has a beautiful underbelly. I'm going to read a few of these quotes. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. Spoken by the founder, the Buddha. Satisfied life is better than successful life. Because our success is measured by others, but our satisfaction is measured by our own soul, mind, and heart. It is better to conquer yourself than win 1,000 battles. Then the victory is yours, it cannot be taken from you. Again, from the Buddha. Happy people build their inner worlds. Unhappy people blame their outer worlds. There's just a side comment, there's a lot of unhappiness in the air where I just came from. And I think it's because people are preoccupied with building their outer worlds. And the call of Buddhism is to build the strength of your inner world. If you're older, which a lot of us are, not all of us, but if you're older, okay, you might be the oldest.
Yeah, but you get to a point where the whole thing moves on.
Oh, okay, got it.
Second childhood.
Okay, got it. Now I lost my idea. No, when you have the chance to. The Eastern way of looking at it is that the first third of life is about growing up and being influenced. The second part of life is about building your life, and the third part of life is about wisdom, building your inner life. And I think that that's a really great challenge that Buddhism offers us all, and I think Costa Rica also lends itself so beautifully to that. It calls you to stop and to reflect and to build what's inside you. And of course the Buddhists say that what's inside you is beautiful, vibrant, bright light. None of the other crappy stuff. So failure is not the opposite of success, it's a part of success. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's a part of success. Mm-hmm. What that says to me is that to be successful, there's some risk involved. Mm-hmm. Building your inner world, there'll be some risk with some people who do not like that you're operating at a different spot. And then there'll be some people who are drawn to you because you're doing that. The goal here is to continue to build not perfection, but be on the road towards perfection. Which means there are detours along the way that sometimes we go on, and then we have to remind ourselves again, yep, another dead end. The last thing about success, ask yourself three questions every day. What am I walking towards? Why do you want to be there? Is it worth it? That kind of reflection creates some movement on the path of your own enlightenment. Again, let me repeat those. What am I walking towards?
Walking towards or working towards?
Walking. What am I walking towards? Why do I want to be there? Is it worth it? And so that's the first thing about success, and kind of the contrast that Buddhism and the Eastern way of thinking talks about those kind of things. That success is not the goal; happiness is the goal.
And happiness is success.
And happiness will lead you to maybe a different version of success than how you look at it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, good.
When this came up last night when I was opening the folder, I'm like, oh, this is just such a good American topic. You know, because it's built upon the Western success model of climbing to the top.
Well, it's not the success of elbowing some other woman out of the way, getting the first Nintendo game on Black Friday.
I don't personally go to Black Friday, so I wouldn't know that. But.
No, I never did either. But that's an interesting.
Any other comments that you would like?
Success in America.
Yes. Any things you'd like to add to that revision of the model of success toward happiness? Anything come to your mind? And then I'll go to the next little idea.
Seems like success also sounds like you're done. You know, like you've achieved it. You've reached it. And happiness or building your inner world. Well, maybe some people reach it, but I would think it's more of a process.
Really good.
That you can be successful in iterations or whatever, but it's not a one and done.
This is evidenced by the idea that some of the most unhappy people in the world are the rich. It's a really, really amazing, as been a therapist working with all socioeconomic levels. The most complex and the most difficult to work with have been the rich.
We used to joke that if you have no money, you have one problem. If you have lots of money, you have lots.
Right. Totally makes sense. I like your addition. That's good. Someone else about success?
Well, we talk like building on what she said. Happiness, I feel, is only exists in the present. It's a feeling. It's a state of mind, of being, and so that's why it doesn't end. It's not an ending. You need to cultivate it in every moment because success, defined by the let's say Western idea, comes from outward materialistic gains, and so you have to hold on to it. And of course that builds up stress, which kills happiness.
It does. Absolutely. Thank you.
To my mind, to my mind, the Western model of success is an illusion of success. It's really mostly, for most people, I think, about keeping your head above water and of just trying to get a little clear air to breathe. And I think most people are in a desperate kind of fight for that, either because they desire it or because they have to. And I think I've always found happiness to be more about being in the flow. Like, you're not worried about getting above the water to get air. The flow is where things are going to happen.
They're going to kind of float.
Yeah, maybe. I don't want to push the metaphor too far.
I'm going to use the metaphor at the end, so you're right on track.
Right.
Okay, just a way of thinking about this difference. I think as Westerners, we're challenged every step of the way with Buddhism because it's a reorienting of our mind and our thought processes towards this. Let me do the second one. Equanimity, balance, the middle way. Okay, good. This set of notes are really detailed, and so I should keep this paper out beyond this talk. The middle way is the answer. Pretty much everywhere. Science talks about it, research talks about it. The Buddha was the first one to present it so succinctly as the way. The answer is not in black and white, but it is feeling happiness and comfortable living every way. that there's a middle way, and this middle way is defined by that you can see the big picture. Let me say it better. You climb the mountain to be able to look over the whole situation, but are not bound by any side. You climb the mountain to look over the whole situation, the whole picture, the big picture, and to not be bound by either side. This is completely un-Western. It's either you or me, or right or wrong, or left or right, or and we get really stuck in that. This is about how to look at every situation in a detached, involved way. It's not one of my topics, but I always go back to it in a detached way. I have to tell you, this works. Have you found this to work?
Of course.
That no matter what the circumstances, through practice, you can rise above them and yet be involved in them and not also be arrogant about it. I had so many chances to practice this. And you want to know, the more I've done this, done these talks, practice meditation, practice loving kindness meditation especially, the thing that arises rather than frustration, that other people are stuck in the details, is compassion, that they're suffering. And that the more you do this, the more you have compassion that other people are suffering. I have a lot of people suffering in my world, and not only in the big picture, you just have to look at the news and see the suffering in the world, but in my much smaller world, much suffering. Mostly, as I look at it, self-induced. And therefore, the solution is there, and yet people are on the hamster wheel of the same thing. And so, Buddhism gives you a chance to rise above that. Rise above your genetics, as we talked about before I left, to rise above your sociology, your background, and it gives you the chance to see the whole picture honestly and realistically for what it is. The Buddha said this is when your mind is abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility or ill will.
Say that again.
The Buddha said when your mind, when you practice the middle way, your mind is abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility or ill will.
It's a tall order.
It's a tall order.
So what's true?
Psychology talks about this too. Psychological stability undisturbed by experience or exposure to emotions or pain that could unwind others.
Yeah, could you say that again?
The psychological stability where you are undisturbed by experience or exposure to emotions or pain that could unwind others. Could unwind others. These kind of things do them in, and they don't do you in. Is what I get.
Yeah,
I
okay.
get from it.
Okay, I got you. That was stupid.
When you practice this equanimity, there are 4 things called the 4 immeasurables in Buddhism that start to arise: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, equanimity, which is the topic.
Which always sounds like the vegetable that got dropped in with 3 fruits. But it's in every single teaching of the Buddha. Always includes equanimity. And that's because that's the middle way. That's the balance, that's the poise. Anyway, I'm gonna take it.
No, it's good. I found the secret to a happy life. This is a great quote, anonymous. So I wish we knew who we could give credit to. I found the secret to a happy life. I'm okay when everything else is not okay.
Mm-hmm. That's detached involvement.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it, but you don't have to have it eat you up. You can be a witness and observer.
The other side of equanimity, those 4 qualities that start to emerge more and more and more as you practice equanimity. The other side is if you don't practice equanimity, you get stuck in these winds of life that toss you around. The variation between praise and blame, the variation between success and failure, the variation between pleasure and pain, the variation between fame and disrepute. You get stuck in those things when you don't practice some kind of middle way, and there's a lot of that in the air. So the encouragement is, if those don't sound very attractive to you, practice equanimity. Practice a balanced way. People sometimes think equanimity is, not a fruit, as you described, because it's kind of dry. It's more cognitive. It seems like it's more cognitive. But equanimity is not dry neutrality or cool aloofness. Mature equanimity produces radiance, warmth of being, fully present, and being in the current moment. Examples of equanimity. If you've been here before, you'll know these. A magician and the plates. Do you remember this? Those of you that have been there. So, when someone throws the plates at a magician that puts them on the, pool cues, whatever they are, to spin them, there's really only 3 possibilities, and equanimity is the third. You can catch them all, and things will start to crash. 2, you can dodge them all, and they will all begin to crash. 3, you can cultivate a practice of catching plates and deciding to spin or set aside. To be in a balanced spot is to receive the plate and decide what you'll do with it. Will I spin that plate in my life, or will I set that aside? If you have the same ability to spin it and set aside, now you've reached some kind of enlightened spot.
Let me add something.
Yeah.
Okay, the word spin tells you it's round. And where we are in our Western cultures, I think, really get confused. It took me a while to figure this out, but I think I got it. Is we really think in linear. We have black here and white here. And the whole idea of oneness is that black and white go this way, like yin and yang, the black fish and the white fish, until the 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 million or 8 billion become one. And that's what we call a non-dual Buddhist teaching. It's not 2. So an example I heard recently that was really good was, instead of spinning, you're going to be in real trouble if you're having a tug of war with yourself. You're holding both ends of the same rope. So quit pulling against it and let it merge. Let your problems come into some form of, like surfing or any other sport. And I think when that concept, we have a tendency to think middle way means 2 ends and a middle. That's not what the Buddha is referring to. He's talking about a revolving, circular, wherever the balance, that's all equanimity is balance. It's your balance point. And none of us feel good when we're awkward or out of bounds socially or any other way, physically. We're not out of balance. Hi, Arthur. Arthur, you can argue with me later. Okay, go ahead.
This practice of equanimity, I want to give just a real specific example. I just met with someone this morning in therapy about parenting. Really parenting difficulty. I'm not going to go into the details. But it's very interesting that when I reflected on my way here about this talk and what I had just experienced there, it was really the very same thing. And that was this parent was catching all the plates given them by their kid. Felt the responsibility to guide their kid, even if that meant a lot of no's and a lot of conflict with the kid. So that plate, that parent needed to spin. That the kid would turn out because of that is a plate that parent needed to set aside. That was not that parent's to have. Just to do what you can do. Do what you can where you are. When you do that specifically, now you're acting in a balanced way. You're being a balanced parent. You're being a balanced spouse. You're being a balanced worker. Being balanced in the world. And so the ability to take responsibility for the things that you're like, no, this is mine. I need to spend this. It's very interesting as we do the Happiness Project, there are people that we put these notices out looking for volunteer teachers to teach Tico's English and those things. And there's some people that when that plate comes at them, they catch it and they're like, yep, I need to spin that. There are some people in the room. I need to spin that plate. And there are others in this room who are like, that's not my plate to have. I'm going to set that aside. When you deal in an equanimous way, in a non-judgmental way about things, you take what's yours. But you don't take and subtract from what somebody else is. This really applies to my relationships in my family.
Ask people if they don't have one in their lives.
Go ahead.
No, just when we talk
Does
everybody here really get that? That's a really important point.
Yeah,
See people all
your response in AA. Now I'm going to quote AA because it fits as well. You're responsible for the effort, not the outcome. The outcome is not in your hands. You're responsible for taking that plate if that's your calling, if that's what you're being led to, if that's what your direction is.
If AA, you're not powerful over somebody else's plate.
You are not. That's why the Al-Anon serenity prayer is grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the person I can, and the wisdom to know that it's me.
That I am powerless.
Yeah, that is about. There's a piece of
I
powerlessness.
started to go to Al-Anon when my son was 3, I think, 2 or 3. I wasn't aware that I was raised by alcoholism, but then I soon became aware that I often was partnered with it. And I remember, and I would hear people with their adult children, and I'd be like, oh my God, please let me not be here in training for my son. Please let me not be here in training for my son. Please let that not be his story, because he was only 3 when I started, and I'm hearing all these awful stories of parents with adult, older children, and so what's interesting is not through substance abuse, thank goodness, to this day, but just from your living, I was there in training for my son because he's almost 18. He's gone back to the States under conditions that just chose. And I've had so much tremendous support around letting that happen and letting it unfold. And I cannot believe how balanced I am about it today. Years ago, I would have been, or even 6 months ago, I would have been completely wrecked about it and trying to control from afar. And now when he's checking in and saying, oh, this is happening, I go, you'll handle it. You'll handle it. And someone asked me yesterday, I went to Sweat Lodge yesterday, and all of this, the medicine community here is just so good and so supportive for all of these kinds of things.
And someone said, how are you doing? And I said, oddly great. Like, I feel really free. Like, I don't feel like I have to keep my hands like on the reins, and for, you know, and so I was in training all those years. Like, all of this is in service to detachment and to really know deeply that someone else's journey, even your most beloved person, the outcome is not mine, you know, and he's got everything I could hand him in the 17 and a half years, and I'm not cutting him off from my guidance, but like, I really get it that his story is his, and then if you can apply that to your only child, I think you can roll it out much more easily to strangers that you have to take on their story, you know. So he has been my longest curriculum, and it was Al-Anon that started all of it, you know, which is so many of these principles in that.
The beauty of Buddhism is people have stolen from it. You know, and made these beautiful mosaics, and at the end you're like, that's Buddhism.
Well, the truth pops up.
It does. It keeps rising to the top. It's because it's the cream. It's the cream. So that this is all really good, and I really like that magician illustration. So I want to add one more. This fits with what you were talking about with the water. So 3 options again for us in life. We can, I can say this without reading it. We can swim upstream. That's the motif that I was trained in. No matter what comes your way, you can
Try. Just keep trying.
Keep trying hard, and there's some value in that. There's some value in that, which is really interesting, but in a moderate, middle way, kind of way. And so you can, and you will lose to the stream if you fight it. The other extreme, to the left or right, whichever you want to say it, is that you float willy-nilly downstream. Just let life take you per vida. Have a good day.
That's nice. We like that. That's good.
And that also can lead to rocks and waterfalls as you float.
Yeah.
And you're just like there.
The Dharma is navigation.
Yeah. The Buddhists say that the real skillful middle way method is to float skillfully downstream. There are rocks.
Navigate. That's what the Dharma teachings are, the navigation.
What is it? Oh yeah, the waterfall place north, the Gringo Eater. You've been on this thing. There's where it's the river swirls around and you're in the raft, and it's called the Gringo Eater. It's just north of Dominical.
Oh.
And it ate me. It ate me, so I really know that one. And so there are Gringo Eaters.
17 years ago.
Yeah, and there are rocks, and there are waterfalls. There are waterfalls, and they'll say, so to be skillful is to observe and pay attention, but to also go with the flow of life, to not resist what that is, and there's some real beauty to be found in that. I've thought of that illustration so many times. The more and more you practice these principles, the more and more it will come that I need to not fight that. I need to go with that, but I need to be careful. I need to be thoughtful. I need to be observant. I need to stay involved, not just float on my back.
Just hold my end of the boat.
Yeah. So, equanimity, a beautiful, most basic of topics. And in an imbalanced world, it's a real gift. It's a real gift in an imbalanced world. People that find happiness and peace, no matter what the circumstances are. They have, like Jesus said, they have the house built on the rock. What are the other ones? It's crazy how many different literatures use this. Jesus used it. Stephen Kellogg used it, the writer of The Three Little Pigs. Robert Sothie wrote it in Goldilocks and the Three Bears. The same idea. And that's why they're such classic children's stories, as we try to teach people early, but the adults should be paying attention while they're reading. Because we've been trained away from, you know, the one that's just right in the middle. The bed that's just right, not too big, not too small, but just right.
The big mistake is moral equivalency. That's on the linear line. That's the thing right in the middle, and you've got a foot on either side. That's just paralysis. When you do it circular, it takes out that paralysis, and you find the right balance, which might be here or here or here, for each circumstance, not some set middle point. So, there you go.
The one other thing, and then I'll open it to what you have to say, is that to not be, when you're out of balance, it will never get you back in balance to be judgmental about yourself. When someone else is out of balance, it will never bring them back into balance by being judgmental about their imbalance. But it is that you become observant, but it is not. It's about resisting judgments. To be discerning but not judgmental. That's a middle of the road, middle way.
Yep, it's a middle.
What do you want to add about equanimity? Because this is a lot of material. Yeah, fun.
Question.
Speak up, honey.
Question.
Got it.
Tough, Ruby.
Yeah.
In talks past, my question was, is balance synonymous with equanimity?
Yes.
Not, I was told no. So yes, I'm very confused.
It's a paradox.
Were you told no by us?
Yes.
Well, we were evolving.
Well, we need to know the context.
Now into the mystery.
The word equanimity means balance, poise, the ability to stay on your feet, etc., etc., etc. But so I don't know where it would not have been equated.
I think it goes back to what you were saying, Lucy, with it's not
It's
the
not moral
absolute middle.
equivalency.
You know, you can think of balance as being the middle point. And in that sense, I'm getting that equanimity is not that.
Yes.
Each situation will have
Correct.
a different balance
Fulcrum, right.
point. So maybe it kind of depends on.
In Buddhism,
I also view balance like the bell curve. You know, balance is like 30 to 70%. You know, rather than 50%. You know, when people come in for marriage therapy and they're like, I want everything to be equal. Good luck with that. It's not, but you want it to have a balance.
I think that would be the answer. Would be that it's not moral equivalency. It's not one solid line between two endpoints. That it is always adjustable. It's where it's where good and evil meet, and it's not a clear line where you can say, well, evil is just as good as good. There's no real difference. They're equal. No, they're not. They may have equalities on a linear basis, but for equanimity, you've brought them into whatever your balance is.
Okay, so semantics aside,
Yeah.
if I strive for equanimity, I'm also striving for balance.
Yes.
Striving for what?
Balance. Yes.
Balance, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Float on, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Equanimity, I think, is a tough one, and I've kind of like a Rubik's Cube, you know? This side, this side, this side. And I love the boiling down point being detached involvement.
That's where it is.
That's the boiling down point.
Yeah.
But I want to turn the Rubik's Cube just this way for a moment because it means a little different to me, actually, than just balance or just the middle way or just like not creating waves. to me, equanimity has come to mean not clinging.
Yes, that's part of it.
Because I think the word detached doesn't fit in my life anymore in this description. Because I think it implies separation. And there's no separation.
There's a difference between disconnect and
correct. That's where I feel like where I float in. So if I think of it practically, if I float in the circles of my family, just having spent 9 weeks in the States, if I float in the circles of my family, I'm really involved. I'm hands-on, and sometimes I'm actually annoying my daughter, or pissing off my dad, or challenging the status quo, which is absolutely not detached. It is 100% in the fray.
That's
involvement. But it's my lack of making that who I am.
Yeah, that's detached.
Having that create my ego, and dropping the ego. There's no clinging. There's no separation. It's all one, and my equanimity doesn't happen unless, to a certain extent, others are experiencing equanimity. My success and my happiness, as if you want to really go into your luminous self, your bodhisattva self, your Buddha nature self, you are not resting until everyone's happy.
But they allow you lifetimes for eternity.
But you don't cling.
That's right.
Non-clinging is a good place to start.
Yes.
I want to give you an example from my trip. If my parents see this, okay, I'm going to talk about it for a second. So Pam, my parents have moved into senior living, and we've been at the process for a couple of years to get them in, and finally found what has turned out to be the right place. For about 2 years, my dad has declined in health, and there could be some diagnosis that he's not receiving, about getting older and more forgetful and less involved. I'm not going to give it a title, so my mother is really frustrated because it's an apartment and she has to do all the work. And he is now in a much lower state of operating in the world. So she's super frustrated and not happy with him a lot of the time. So I sitting and listening again to them banter while we had dinner one night, and so I felt called to rile it up. As you talk, I was like, okay, Jeff, you have some tools that they don't have. Why don't you offer them these tools? So I'm like, okay. So I said to my mom, I've been listening to the banter and I'm uncomfortable with it. And I stopped. My family doesn't stop. They talk all over each other, but I stopped. So both of them perked up. And then I said, so I understand that you want him to do some things here. Do I have that correct? Yeah, he doesn't. I'm like, got it. So I said, I'm going to give you a format by which you could ask him what you would like for him to do specifically. I would like you to, and you fill in the blank, and then I would like you to follow that with a question, are you willing? They don't know. So, surprisingly, my mom was like, okay. I would like you to load and unload the dishwasher every day. She said it with kind of that kind of tone. Okay, and I said, so say the question, are you willing? So she said, are you willing? He goes, yes.
What?
I'm like, miracle. just a miracle. I said, what else, Mom?
You couldn't stop there.
No, I didn't spot again because maybe there's a second miracle to be had. No, he doesn't get a chance. She's the one with the problem, so I was going to let her have her problem. Okay, and so then I said, what else? She had to think now for a moment because that was the big one, the dishwasher. And then she said, I would like to get up from the table after we eat because I have purchased the food, I have refrigerated the food, I have made the food, and I would like to be able to get up. I said, stop all that stuff. What do you want from me? I would like to, when the meal is done, I'd like to get up from the table and read a book.
No, you.
Oh.
No, she didn't say, and
but
it
she
would be
first.
taken care of by you. Yeah, and so I said, so do it in the format. Surprisingly, she got the format. She goes, I would like you to clean all the plates after dinner, and I will leave the table. I said, remember the question. Are you willing? He goes, yes. Oh my God. It's amazing. So while I'm there, my dad said to me, he said, this is going to work while you're here. And I'm like, that's all I got. That's all I got. The outcome.
But he might have a habit by the time he leaves.
Who knows? And those things, and maybe it's some tools about how to communicate about this kind of stuff. But there does, equanimity does call you to route things up sometimes. But that result has nothing to do beside with me. I don't live there. I don't buy the food. I mean, I did my part of cleaning up after the meal. And so you stay. You don't let this. You don't let this draw you in. You do what you have to do, but then you don't let it draw you in. That's where detachment comes in.
Yeah, it doesn't define who you are.
It doesn't.
Or whether you're good or bad.
No, and it doesn't define. I left it. I took that plate, spun it for a moment, then I took it off the thing and I set it aside.
Right. Yeah.
Would you want to add something, Mark?
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
There's a secondary teaching that blends into this, and I won't. And the secondary teaching is this: that if you can just imagine that there's one circle called strength and there's another circle called compassion. Strength is your ability to speak in an empowered way, to speak with confidence, to speak with assuredness. Compassion is the ability to meet somebody where they are, no matter what they're facing, no matter what they're addressing, no matter what they're doing. And where these two circles come together and they interlace or overlap like a Venn diagram is equanimity. It's the ability to be balanced between the two. But the key here with the equanimity is it's not static, because we know the other thing in Buddhism is impermanence. Nothing remains the same. So everything's in a state of flow. In so being, what ends up happening is the side of strength might be, in this case, as you're beautifully put, was that ability to stir something up, to get a message sent. But you also blended it with compassion on the other side, where it was able to be received. You didn't take it personally, nor did you make it a judgment upon anybody. And I think what Bon's looking at is, how can this be? And I think impermanence is really the answer when we recognize everything's in a state of flow, shifting and moving, and who are we and where are we in that situation?
Good addition. Really nice.
Just to add to that, I just finished reading an article on the things you should never say to your spouse.
Oh boy.
And,
I read that too.
Including, I just read an article.
Things like you always or you never.
Yeah.
Right. And the other one was calm down, you're overreacting.
Yes.
And those are very judgmental things, guaranteed to start a fight, right?
Yeah.
So what you do instead of relax, don't get yourself all worked up, is say, I'm listening. Why don't you tell me, say more about that, about why you're upset?
Yeah.
That opens the dialogue. That's what you're talking about. That's more like equanimity or detached involvement.
Yeah.
This is all applied Dharma, and I thought one thing to say, this is applied Dharma, it's everyday Dharma, it's how we use the Dharma. One of the things that I thought didn't get said but was important in your story is that you did not prejudge the outcome. You knew that from watching it, from being aware from your observation, and you've outlined and simplified the problem, presented it, and then didn't insist that they be fixed. After that, you laid it on the table, and it's theirs to do as they wish. And that's a really important point. Not only when to take it up, but when to put it down.
Yes, really, really important.
I just have a visual suggestion that as something that really teaches this to me on a cellular level instead of an intellectual one. I watch a lot of dance videos of dance, where basically like impromptu strangers are paired up and they don't know what music is coming. And they're dancers, so they know what they're doing, but they don't know each other and they don't know the song. And it's such a beautiful example of all of this because they're continually in and out of balance. They're devoted to the song and the dance going well, which is to be in flow. And it's always moving. It's moving, 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 and no one's controlling it, because if they did, you would notice right away. They're absolutely equals, even though oftentimes the man is sort of holding the container and the woman is sort of like floating in it, which is also a beautiful illustration. But it actually is such a wonderful thing to watch that you can just like internalize it while you're watching it, and it's instructive without it being like a heady sort of way to experience it. Yeah, and it's really just such a beautiful symbolic, example of exactly what you're talking about. So I mean, they're all over. I don't know. I suppose it's TikTok. I don't have TikTok, but I end up seeing them on Instagram. But they're really, I'm enchanted by them. I think it's for exactly those reasons. We're watching it happen with bodies. With bodies.
I think we should stop. I think that's enough for tonight.
It's 10 after.
I did, I'm not doing it. I'm evolving away from that. I'm devolving.
Okay.
I'm good.
Well, that was wonderful.
Thank you, Jeff.
Welcome back, Jeff.
Nice to be back.
Awfully glad.
I have a small little family in the mountain, and this is my big family.
This is the Sangha. So do we go to...
Loving kindness.
Yeah, but does anybody else have any? I don't know how we are on time.
It's 10 after.
Okay, then it's time for metta. Okay. Everybody, if you're going to stretch, do it now. And then we'll do our loving kindness meditation, which is a sort of a staple here. It's how we end every session. And for those of you who are new, just follow along. We're going to repeat silently after I say it out loud phrases directed towards 5 different people. Metta or Maitri or loving kindness meditation is to widen the circle of compassion. It is unconditional love, unconditional friendship. It is non-dual. When we're talking about all these things, that's when there's always one or the other. Which one is it? When they merge together, you have non-dual. And this is a non-dual guided meditation. It's for everybody. And it takes you out, 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 out 5 times. So get comfortable. Close your eyes or leave them open, doesn't matter. Put your hands in your lap or on your knees, doesn't matter. Eventually we're going to put them over our heart. And bring to mind yourself. You can either see yourself as a reflection and address yourself in the third person as you, or just inwardly as yourself and address yourself as I. We're going to use I. Take a deep breath and repeat after me silently to your vision of yourself. May I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease, calm and peaceful. Ease, by the way, is equanimity. May I live with balance, or equanimity. May I be happy. In Buddhism, we always end with happiness. And now, move on to someone you love. Really, really love. And I'm talkative. Excuse me. I got a little some more honey. Thank you. Oh. Let's see if that cleared up. Okay, someone you love with all your heart. Bring their face to mine. Look at it very closely. Take everything else out and just their faces there in front of you. Smile to them. Say their name. And say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm, and peaceful. Oh, may you be happy. And then you rest a moment, take another deep breath, and you move out, and farther circle out to a neutral person. This is someone that you're familiar with. Maybe it's just somebody that you that waits on you, or a neighbor that you never really met, but you see them in the wave. But it's someone with whom you don't have a deep attachment, but you have no ill will towards them. If you don't know his or her name, address them as friend. We'll do that. Bring a person to mind and say, dear friend, may you do well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. You wait a few minutes, take a few more deep breaths, and as that image fades in space, you now move to someone with whom you are in conflict. This person either doesn't like you, or you don't like them, or the feeling is mutual. It could be an old grudge, it could be any kind of conflict. But bring as clearly as possible into focus their visibility, their face. And taking a really deep breath and not removing your eyes from them, say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Take a few more deep breaths. Take a sigh if you need to, because now we go to the big one. To all sentient beings, everywhere. And we speak this time with our hands on our hearts, because our heart symbolically is the only place that can be non-dual. It takes in everything. Everything. Without preference. It is unconditional. And the words are a little different. They're going, may all beings everywhere on this plane and all other planes. We will. May all beings everywhere be safe, may all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be happy. Now we breathe that in for a few minutes. If we're at home, we can sit for quite a long time. And you can feel it in your body. This unconditional loving kindness. When you're ready, you release your hands, open your eyes, smile at your neighbors, and together we say out loud, I guess I'll say one and then you repeat it after me as a whole group, right?
Responsive.
It's a call and response.
Yes. Call and response.
Call and response. Okay. And it goes like this. Go in peace.
Go in peace.
Go making peace.
Go making peace.
Living gently.
Living gently.
Loving mightily.
Loving mightily.
And bowing to the mysteries. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you. That was so